This afternoon, an Albuquerque judge released her decision. Nehemiah Griego will get life for murdering his parents and 3 younger siblings when he was just 15 years old. This case is unlike any other we've seen in New Mexico because Griego was sentenced as a minor and had already done his time in juvenile jail. Nehemiah Griego will not be allowed to stay at MDC while he appeals his sentence. Griego was sentenced to life in prison for murdering his parents and 3 siblings in 2013.
A 15-year-old boy walks into his church on a Sunday evening, greeting familiar faces with a solemn expression. When asked about his family, he calmly explains they died in a car accident. But hidden in his van outside are 2 rifles, 2 shotguns, and enough ammunition for a massacre. Because 18 hours earlier, this teenager had systematically executed his mother, father, and 3 young siblings in their beds. And his killing spree wasn't over yet. This is the shocking true story of Nehemiah Griego, the pastor's son who destroyed his entire family. On January 19, 2013, in South Valley, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 5 members of the Griego family were found dead in their home. The victims were Greg Griego, a beloved pastor and fire department chaplain, his wife Sarah, and their 3 youngest children, 9-year-old Zephaniah, 5-year-old Jael, and 2-year-old Angelina. The person responsible for this unimaginable horror? Their own son and brother, 15-year-old Nehemiah Griego. The Griegos weren't just any family. They were pillars of their community, devout Christians deeply involved in Calvary Church in Albuquerque. Greg served as a pastor and worked with prisoners and the homeless. Sarah was a devoted mother to their 6 children. From the outside, they appeared to be the perfect Christian family. But behind closed doors, something had gone terribly, catastrophically wrong. How could a teenage boy commit such an atrocity against his own flesh and blood? What warning signs were missed? And what drove Nehemiah to plan an even larger massacre at a local Walmart? Today, we're diving deep into one of New Mexico's most disturbing family murder cases, a tragedy that shook an entire community and raised difficult questions about juvenile crime, mental health, and the limits of understanding. Nehemiah Griego was the eldest of 6 children in a strict religious household. To neighbors and church members, he seemed like a typical teenager growing up in a faith-centered home. He attended church regularly, helped care for his younger siblings, and was known as a talented musician who played guitar, drums, and bass at church services. His father, Greg, encouraged his love for music from a young age, and Nehemiah had become quite accomplished. Nehemiah had dreams of serving in the military one day. His uncle, former New Mexico State Senator Eric Griego, would later describe him as a bright, curious, and incredibly talented young man who was a brother, nephew, grandson, and cousin to a large extended family. But beneath the surface of this seemingly normal teenage life, darkness was growing. Nehemiah was increasingly withdrawn and isolated in the weeks leading up to the tragedy. Friends noticed changes in his behavior. He seemed more distant, more troubled. He had arguments with his mother, Sarah, though at the time they appeared to be typical teenage conflicts. What no one realized was the depth of anger and frustration building inside him. According to later reports, Nehemiah had endured severe abuse and malnourishment in his childhood, contributing to mental and emotional issues that went largely undiagnosed. His family would later acknowledge he was a troubled young man, though they insisted that none of us, even in our wildest nightmare, could have imagined that he could do something like this. The warning signs were there, but they were subtle, the kind of behavioral changes that might seem normal for any teenager struggling with adolescence. No one could have predicted that Nehemiah was planning something unspeakable. In the early morning hours of January 19, 2013, Nehemiah put his plan into action. He had access to multiple firearms in the home. What happened next was chillingly calculated and methodical. Around 1 a.m., while his family slept, Nehemiah retrieved the .22 caliber rifle. He entered the bedroom where his mother Sarah was sleeping with his 9-year-old brother Zephaniah beside her. He aimed and fired, shooting his mother in the head as she slept. The gunshot woke Zephaniah. According to the arrest affidavit, when Nehemiah told his young brother that their mother was dead, Zephaniah didn't believe him. So Nehemiah did something truly horrifying. He picked up his mother's head to show his brother her bloody face. When Zephaniah became upset, Nehemiah shot him in the head with the same rifle. But Nehemiah wasn't done. As he later told investigators, after killing his mother and brother, he lost his sense of conscience. He proceeded to the rooms of his 2 younger sisters. 5-year-old Jael was shot and killed. Then 2-year-old Angelina, barely more than a toddler, was murdered in her bed. 4 members of his family were now dead, but Nehemiah waited for one more victim. His father, Greg, had been working the graveyard shift at a homeless shelter and wasn't expected home until around 5 a.m. When Greg Griego returned home from his shift helping the homeless, having no idea of the nightmare waiting inside, Nehemiah shot and killed him too. 5 family members, dead by the hands of a 15-year-old boy. But Nehemiah's plans didn't end with his family. After the murders, Nehemiah reloaded the weapons and loaded his van with both rifles, 2 shotguns, and plenty of ammunition. He told investigators he planned to drive to a populated Walmart and shoot people at random, hoping to achieve mass destruction before being killed in a shootout with police. He also planned to murder his girlfriend's parents. But first, he did something truly disturbing. Nehemiah sent a photo of his dead mother's body to his 12-year-old girlfriend. Then, as if nothing had happened, he spent the majority of the day with the girl and her family, acting normally. For nearly 18 hours, Nehemiah walked around Albuquerque as a free person, his horrific crimes undiscovered. His girlfriend, who had received the disturbing photo, showed no signs of understanding what had actually happened. Police would later investigate whether she could face charges, but ultimately cleared her of any wrongdoing after determining she had no knowledge of or involvement in the crimes. As evening approached, Nehemiah and his girlfriend went to Calvary Church, the very church where his father had served as pastor. It was around 8 p.m. when church members began asking about his family. This is where Nehemiah's facade began to crack. He told church members that his family had died in a car accident. It was a lie that might have bought him time, but it had the opposite effect. Concerned by the news and perhaps sensing something wasn't right, a church staff member immediately called the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office. Deputies were dispatched to the Griego home on the outskirts of Albuquerque. What they found inside was a scene of unimaginable horror. 5 bodies, a family completely destroyed. Meanwhile, back at the church, deputies found Nehemiah. When they searched his van, they discovered the arsenal he had prepared. The truth was out. The pastor's son was a killer. Initially, Nehemiah denied any involvement in the murders, but faced with overwhelming evidence, he eventually admitted everything to investigators. He confessed to killing all 5 family members, explaining that he had acted out of frustration with his mother, though he never fully articulated what that frustration was about. Then came the chilling details of his larger plan. Nehemiah said after killing 5 of his family members, he reloaded the weapons so that he could drive to a populated area to murder more people, read the police report. Nehemiah stated he wanted to shoot people at random and eventually be killed while exchanging gunfire with law enforcement. Bernalillo County Sheriff Dan Houston told reporters that Griego had hoped to end his spree at a Walmart with mass destruction. Sheriff Houston added, "This is beyond any human reasoning or understanding at this time." Nehemiah was arrested on the spot. Prosecutors quickly announced he would be charged as an adult with 2 counts of murder and 3 counts of child abuse resulting in death. He waived his right to arraignment, and a judge ordered him held without bond. District Attorney Kari Brandenburg stated, "We never had a case like this, as far as I know, in the state of New Mexico, so I can't compare this to any other case." The case went to a grand jury. The community was in shock. How could this happen? How could a 15-year-old boy systematically murder his entire family? The legal system would have to grapple with questions of juvenile justice, accountability, and whether a child could truly comprehend the magnitude of such evil. In 2015, after 2 years of legal proceedings, Nehemiah Griego pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and child abuse charges. The court sentenced him to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after serving at least 30 years. In 2019, an appeals court upheld the decision to sentence him as an adult, affirming that the brutality and premeditation of his crimes warranted adult consequences.
Griego could be spending a long time in prison.
Casey Torres is live at district court this morning in downtown Albuquerque. So, Casey, just how long could Griego stay behind bars for these murders?
Well, the state wants Nehemiah Griego to spend up to 120 years in prison for the murders of his parents and 3 younger siblings.
The Griego family was devastated. 5 older siblings who had not been living at home were left to grapple with an impossible reality. They had lost their parents and 3 young siblings, and their brother was the one who took them away. The community of South Valley was traumatized. Members of Calvary Church mourned the loss of their beloved pastor, his wife, and their 3 innocent children. Neighbors struggled to reconcile the quiet boy they knew with the cold-blooded killer he had become. The case sparked nationwide conversations about juvenile crime, mental health intervention, and gun access. How do we identify troubled youth before they commit violence? What responsibilities do parents, schools, and communities have in recognizing warning signs? And how should the justice system handle juveniles who commit adult crimes? The weapons used in the murders had been purchased legally. The question of how a 15-year-old had such easy access to an arsenal capable of mass murder troubled many observers. For Nehemiah Griego, the choices of January 19, 2013, defined the rest of his life. He will spend decades in prison, possibly the rest of his life. For the surviving family members, no sentence could ever be enough. And for the community of South Valley, the scars remain, a reminder that sometimes the greatest dangers come from the places we least expect. The Nehemiah Griego case forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about juvenile crime, family dysfunction, and the warning signs we miss until it's too late. A teenage boy destroyed his entire family and planned to take many more innocent lives before being stopped. It's a reminder that mental health issues, childhood trauma, and easy access to weapons can create a deadly combination. What do you think? Could this tragedy have been prevented? What warning signs should we look for in troubled youth? How should the justice system handle juveniles who commit horrific adult crimes? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this case shocked you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our coverage of the most disturbing juvenile crime cases. And remember, the darkest stories are sometimes the ones happening behind closed doors in seemingly perfect families. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there.